Hey there, I'm Lauren. I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait to hang out with you and get to know each other and hear each other's stories and walk alongside each other on this beautiful path that is our human experience. So was introduced to spirituality and love and divine love and forgiveness and harmony and all of the beautiful things that are true about a wonderful relationship with our higher power as a very young girl. And when I was 12 or 13 years old, I was so filled with this just joy and overflowing love that I stood in front of my church and dedicated my life to missionary service because there was nothing I wanted more than to go out and help other people to feel this beautiful joy and love and support and warmth that I felt as a young girl. Well, by the time I was about 15 or 16, I began to get different messages that suddenly my body was bad and that I was bad and I could never really be good, but I had to try as hard as I could anyway. And the total of this message came out in my young heart and soul that I was not worthy of having a connection with God, and I was not willing to do the things that I needed to do in order to be worthy. And so I set off and lived the next 3 decades of my life feeling as if I was cut off from my source, from the source of my power, from the force that beat my heart. And during that time, I worked hard. I still tried to be a good person and still have fun. I tried to support my family. I tried to help my brother who was in the throes of drug and alcohol addiction and the all of the illness and struggles and complications that come with that, and my beautiful loving mother who was trying to help him and draining my resources in order to help him. And so I struggled and I struggled and I fought, and I had some successes in the financial world, in the business world, but every time I would begin to feel as if I was succeeding, something would happen and I would wind up right back where I started and starting over again and again and again. And until finally in 2010, when I was 46 years old, I found myself completely at the bottom with no resources, with no hope, and looking around me and seeing that I hadn't helped anyone, that my mother had to be put in a state-run nursing home because we couldn't afford anything else. My brother died of his addiction at the age of 50 years old. And I realized that I just had nothing left to give. And I was living with my sister, just doing enough work as a temporary employee to keep myself in wine and cigarettes. And had she been able to support me, I would probably still be there. But she was not in a great place herself and was about to lose her house. And so since I couldn't fathom actually being homeless on the street, I gathered together all of the life skills that I had at that point, which were the law of attraction and positive thinking and creating my life on purpose. And from that place, I created a very humble and simple vision. I wasn't dreaming of mansions or being in a blockbuster movie or being a millionaire. I just dreamed of a simple life where I could be free and I could be secure and I could do work that came easily to me and that I could do on my own schedule. And I envisioned this beautiful little place in the mountains, and I handed my loved ones over to their God, to their path, to the universe, trusting that they would find their way and knowing instinctively that they all have the same access to source, to God, to the universe that I do, and trusting that they would find their way. And from this place of being bankrupt and almost homeless and jobless and hopeless and feeling without resources, I set out on this path to recreate my life. And I wrote lists of positive aspects about all of the things that were existing in my life in my tiny little 250 square foot apartment, which is all that we could afford. And I immersed myself in gratitude, and I immersed myself in having a perspective of loving what I had and being in perfect faith that what I wanted was on its way to me. And from this place, I learned so many things. I learned that happiness is not something that you can find outside of yourself. It's something that you choose, that you create, that you generate. And I learned that I was not disconnected from source. I was never walking this path alone, and a little crack was opened to allow me to reconnect, to feel my connection to spirit, to the universe, to God, to any label that you want to put on the divine love and guidance that is available to each and every one of us in every second. That I was able to really begin to open my heart and open my mind and open myself to receive this power and this spirit and this support. And life began to prove to me that all of this was true. And so by 2014, I had manifested this beautiful, amazing vision that I had created for myself. I was in my beautiful little dream cottage in the middle of the wilderness, feeling like a fairy living in the midst of a fairy wood. And I was on my deck with my dog at my feet, and that feeling that I had as a 12-year-old girl of joy and love and just overflowing peace and happiness and freedom, that I returned to my soul's mission of sharing this path with other people. And this is where I am today. This is all of my life's purpose, is working with you one-on-one, working with you in our groups. I'm a new channeler of my spirit guide collective known as Caleb, and am so loving sharing that work with the world. So I hope that you will engage with me. Scroll down and sign up for the email list so that you're invited and notified of all of the gatherings that we have together and all of the ways that we are creating community and support for one another as we walk alongside each other on this amazing journey as a divine, immortal being having a human experience. So I hope to see you often and soon in one of our many gatherings. I love you so much, and welcome to this site.